The quake sent people scrambling into the streets, dressed in whatever they could grab, some unable to believe they actually survived. With the early morning temperature hovering just above freezing, every possible rescue force was called into action. The epicenter was barely 10 miles from here and close to the surface, which makes the tremors more powerful and devastating. Officials said some 26 towns and villages were hit. Entire apartment blocks fell into piles of rubble. 8 families lived in this one, and there is little hope of finding anyone alive, in spite of efforts bordering on the frantic. Every few minutes, everything stops so rescuers can listen for cries for help. This young woman's sister is buried in the collapsed apartment building. An aging couple who have seen this before seemed fatalistic about finding their loved one. "My sister was buried alive," she says simply. Sniffer dogs were used to look for anyone who might be alive. No one here is ready to give up yet. And even those pulled from the debris could not be sure they wouldn't be buried again. Part of the main hospital had to be evacuated when it appeared the building was unstable.
It's impossible to describe the situation. I am afraid very, very much.
Falling debris littered the entire historical center of the city. Churches dating back to the 13th century were heavily damaged. The area is prone to earthquakes, and officials are calling this one the worst in 30 years. It was preceded by 9 smaller jolts in the past week, and more than a dozen aftershocks have rumbled through since the main trembler struck. Tonight, 50,000 people are homeless. Many of them will spend the night in a hastily erected tent city in a sports field on the edge of town, reliant on whatever food and aid can be handed out. Officials estimate as many as 15,000 buildings have been damaged or destroyed. And just to add to the difficulty of the rescue effort and the misery of the survivors, pelting rain squalls began moving through the area just as darkness fell. Katie?
Allen, I understand aftershocks, cold weather, and heavy rain are not the only challenges rescuers are facing.
No, indeed. As they get the top bit of rubble off, the loose things that you can pull apart by hand, and they have to bring in the heavy machinery, so they begin lifting up big pieces, but each big piece is then linked to another one. And what you've got to be careful of is that you don't lift up a piece, which then sends a whole lot more debris crashing down on the very area you're trying to excavate. And so it becomes a race against time, but being too hasty is your enemy, Katie.
A delicate process. Allen Pizzey, Allen, thank you very, very much.